Hey, hello. I'm not gonna lie to you
Hi.
guys. This is gonna be a quick episode here at Unscripted Gaming. We've got some
That's right.
Helldivers to play.
We've got to dive into hell.
That's
Okay,
right.
my name is Ray. Who's that over there? I'm
We,
pointing at him.
Josh, what's up? Hello, everybody.
No, shut up. No soliloquies. Who's the other guy?
Mike.
Thank you. All right. We got a smash and grab episode.
We,
to
we
do
gotta
right-
go. We gotta go.
We're looting.
Listen, the
Looting and
bugs aren't
We've
gonna
got
shoot
we've got
themselves.
from the time it takes to orbit until the time we hit planet side to get this podcast done.
Let's okay. The reason why we're rushing is because there's a hot new game out. It's called Helldivers 2. It's actually pretty good. It's pretty funny. It is Starship Troopers without legally being Starship Troopers, but it is the movie version of Starship Troopers. That's all you need to know. It's funny.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's also like legitimately hilarious.
I think
as a
I think
game.
I've also seen some people on the formerly Bird app, who are involved with Starship Troopers, winking and nodding to the game already too, just being like, "Hey, this is pretty cool." Legally distinct game.
I
Would you
took
like to know more?
I took Mike's advice and I watched the opening video of this game. I'm like, okay, I see. I'm picking up what you're throwing down. I think I'll go ahead and give this game a little bit of money. It's only $40 as well. All right. So this is going to be quick because we want to get into playing that. The game is so popular, they can't keep the servers online. Like quite literally, they cap their servers at 450,000 people on the Steam version, and I think that's a similar number on the PS5 version, which is a good problem to have. Also a bad problem.
Okay, Ray.
DJ Khaled.
This is
suffering
something
from
that, given your
success.
industry knowledge, like
Hmm.
you might have some insight into. But I was having this conversation the other day when Mike and I and a few other folks were playing the game, and like with everything being the way that it is these days, and like cloud based, hosting and managed software from like third parties. Nothing being on your own servers, your own blades. You're not actually having to go out and rent or buy physical hardware and like jack it in to get it up. Like, how is it that they have not been able to, work with Sony or work with whomever to like just increase the capacity, an extra 20% kind of on the fly? Like, I guess, is there something deeper that is stopping them from doing that? Or is it just, if we pay this, it has to be for X number of time, and if it doesn't go on, then we're holding the back? Like, what? I'm sure there are 100 different reasons, but like, what is stopping them from just saying, "Hey, let's buy 25% more server capacity for the next quarter, 6 months, whatever."
Yes, there's a lot of answers to that, so I'll give you the two biggest ones. The two companies I worked for that were live service games. I mean, not the two companies, the two games I worked on that were live service games. They actually did own their own server farms, so if they needed to spin up, they just actually bought the hardware.
They had to go
and
buy
spun
more
up.
hardware.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
And also, if you do not own the hardware, those contracts are deep, and server farms are not cheap. So you're asking this relatively small studio who is selling their game for $40, and they never intended for this game to get as big as it is. And they're like, the moment we sign a contract with, like, we'll say AWS, moment we sign some contract with AWS or Microsoft Azure, and we spin up 20% more servers, how long is that going? And how long are people going to play, and how deep in the hole are we about to be, in hopes that it's going to stay this popular? It's a cost benefit analysis.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
they need to find other ways to actually manage the players. Now, I did read earlier, and we talked about this very briefly, they do not have a checksum in their script to actually kick people off that are idling, which is going to take up a bunch of queue space on their server space.
Yeah.
They needed that script before the game launched. But then again, now that we're talking about that, I am kind of sympathetic to the fact, like, they never thought the game would get this big. They're like, oh
Right.
crap, accidental banger, and now they're trying to find ways. You follow their Twitter, they're like trying to find ways to, like, how do we correct this, because we want people to play, we want people to enjoy it, but it's an even worse experience when they bought the game and they can't play it. Like, you don't want that either. So that's the reason they're doing the constant cost benefit analysis of how many people are actually going to play this game for, we'll say, one quarter. That quarter of cost for server space, that doesn't go away. You have to still pay for that. And some contracts, they're like, no, 1 year. It really depends. um
I
that's the
also
answer
have
to that question.
to. Sorry to cut you off, Randy.
No,
I
you're
also
cool.
have
I'll
to bet like that. You're going from like that problems. It's a situation of scale sometimes where something
Mhm.
that was not a problem at 5,000 concurrent players
Mhm.
becomes a very different kind of situation
At
at
400,000.
300,000. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, so just those kinds of things that you never, and that you could never obviously test for that because you can
yeah.
never simulate that kind of
I will
strain.
say, in a positive for the game, obviously longevity, you never know, but I do think that there have been a lot of games in the last few years that have been trying to fill this like 4-person co-op squad based like shooter niche and just like have not been hitting.
Hmm.
And this is the first game I've seen in a while that like is bleeding into like the general discourse. Like I've seen people on TikTok, like girlfriends posting about like how do you talk about Helldivers with your boyfriend / husband, like that kind of stuff.
It
All
feels like the last one since like Elden Ring to like break into like the larger barrier
yeah,
of.
Yeah,
like
I'd say
even
that. Yeah.
even Pal World with as crazy as that got, like was in the gamosphere and like with the gamers, it did not bleed into even like you know spouse content on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, or whatever. So there's something about it that has really caught the cultural consciousness right now in this moment.
Yeah, well, if I could just very briefly touch on Pal World, the difference between Pal World and this is Pal World is Pokemon with guns, but by the time you play Pal World enough to finally get a gun, you've dropped at least 6, 8, depending what you're doing, 10 hours into that game, and you're basically playing Ark Survival, but with really bad Pokemon mechanics.
Yeah,
This game of like, no, listen, MFer, this is just Starship Troopers. This is Mr. Verhoeven's Starship Troopers, and we're leaning so hard into this skid. And then you play the game, you start the video, and you're like, oh yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. What, we can play with our friends now? Thumbs up, let's go. Crossplay? I can play with the PS5 people and the PC people. Oh, we're all hopping in here, we're shooting some bugs.
yep.
I think if I had to say the word Pal World to my wife, I would just have to kill myself.
Commit
100%.
I just would do
Commit
right on the
Sudoku.
spot. I would do it. If she's like, "Do you know about this?" and I'm like, "Oh, that's Pal World." It's just
Done.
that's how it would go. Sorry,
Guys, I
continue.
want to since we're doing a smash and grab, I want to talk to you very briefly about like the big Microsoft thing that they kind of tease via a podcast.
Speaking of people who can't play Helldiver,
Man, Microsoft out here catching strays and taking L's without even getting mentioned. I like how Microsoft during this big release that everyone thought like, what's going on? What are they about to announce? Are they about to leave the hardware business? Are they gonna kill Game Pass? Or, I don't know, just a bunch of theories coming out of there. And then it turns out they're just like, nah, we're just gonna start letting some of our first party exclusive games go to other platforms.
but you have to guess which ones. 'Cause
Yeah,
they
we won't tell you
you.
which ones. What the? That's so great. It was like worse than a Nintendo Direct.
Very
It's-
funny. Honestly, love it.
Yeah.
and it was so scripted. And they said, "Oh yeah, but we also have Power World. Isn't that great that Xbox has Power World?" And it's like the worst version of Power World. It's as opposed to 32 players in a big server, it's 4 people.
Yeah. Man, the Xbox Microsoft discourse in the last few weeks has been so frustrating in
I love it.
in such a stupid way.
We lost Tim Dog. Tim Dog is not happy.
Here's
Not Tim
the thing
Dog.
the thing that bothers me the most though about it is you've got fucking
Speak on it, J-Dog.
you've got crusty, sweaty gamers getting pissed off about the absolute wrong thing. Meanwhile, you have nearly 2,000 people losing their jobs, and everybody's like, but maybe my Game Pass games are going to go on to another platform. I'm like, fucking great. Like, stop gatekeeping, you loser. Like,
Microsoft gamers are the kings of gatekeeping. It's all they know.
I
It's all
don't
they have.
get it. Because, like, Phil Spencer was out there in, like, 2015 being like, I want my games as many places as I can. Like, they were talking about getting Game Pass on the Nintendo Switch in, like, 2018. Like, that was in serious discussions. Like, I feel like Microsoft has been kind of announcing that, you know, they said, hey, every first-party Xbox game is going to come day and date to PC on Game Pass. Like, they have been showcasing that.
It's not
for,
an overnight.
No,
thing.
it has been
I
constantly talked about. Like, again, Phil Spencer for years has been like, I don't care where you play my games. I just want you to play them. Like, I don't understand why Xboxers get so fucking fired up about it. Again, while you have 2,000 people losing their jobs, and
Imagine you have that 2003 Xbox PlayStation console war mentality and you never grew out of it. You're just like a 40-year-old man and you never left that mentality. That's what that like group of people is like.
Maybe it's because I'm a PC elitist and I don't get it anymore, but I'm like, come on. Like, you have got to be kidding me.
Speaking of which, one thing they announced during that Microsoft thing, they're like, "Oh yeah, we're still staying in the hardware business."
The emergency podcast, which again, I know you already had said it right, but just very funny that the corporate response to something these days is emergency podcast. That's something we do, okay?
Yeah, that's not something a $3 trillion company.
That's us. That's not your you know, my culture is not your costume, Microsoft. Okay?
Guys, emergency pod. We lost Tim Dog. Everyone's pissed. That's so good.
Good.
Phil
That's
Spencer
good.
doing the Oppenheimer face, knowing that he lost Tim Dog as a result of the,
Good gravy.
That's great. Did you
Game
guys
Pass
watch that press
projects.
conference? The press conference. I'm sorry. Did you guys watch that podcast?
I did.
Sorry.
I did not. I remember seeing
Video
it getting
podcast.
announced.
Ugh.
I did not actually watch it or listen to it or consume it in any way.
I watched and it was dumb. Here's the big takeaway from it, and you've already said it. They're not leaving the hardware business.
Which, of course, they're not.
Right. They're not gonna change anything about Game Pass now.
Of course, they're not. Like,
They're hinting. They're dropping the briefest of hints, like little seasoning of like Phil Spencer has not abandoned the idea of a handheld something, whatever it is. Like the Steam Deck and Switch has shown that there is a handheld market that they are not tapped into. Godspeed to Microsoft. Every time they've tried anything hardware that wasn't Microsoft, it's fallen flat on its face. So maybe they figured it out. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. And they did, as Mike said, we have 4 new games that are Microsoft exclusive, relatively recent ones that will be coming to Switch and PS5. And which ones are they? They literally just wouldn't say. Phil Spencer in a cheeky voice said, I'm just not going to tell you because those guys have their own marketing things that they want to spin up. And it's like, probably one of them's Hi-Fi Rush, which I actually did revisit a couple days ago because I'm still playing through it. And that's a really good game that should be on Switch. Like, that is a very Nintendo Switch energy-ass game. It's great.
I suspect there's a Nintendo Direct coming soon.
I think they announced one today, didn't they?
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, there's one coming on like the
be...
22nd or something.
I'm gonna bet we'll probably hear some of those games there.
Yeah, definitely.
Like that seems like a safe bet.
There's if I was a betting man in the betting market, I would say Starfield is not long for being an Xbox exclusive.
I think I already saw something about them announcing PS4 or Switch. Like I feel like I saw that, or maybe I was just being speculation, but I thought I saw some.
That was the one that kind of kicked off a lot of the speculation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think to Ray's point, I don't think that's a stretch at all.
No.
I think this is something else I want to mention real quick in connection to the almost comical number of layoffs that have happened just since the beginning of 2024, which is not a long time. We've already have had a lot of them are because of the Activision Microsoft purchase, but
Mhm.
we've had thousands of like layoffs already this year.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, especially Microsoft wanting to get their games elsewhere, Sony announcing that like this year is really going to be like a pretty quiet year for them because all their people are already developing for the PlayStation 6.
Mhm.
It's just like these games are just so high risk. It's just like the
Not
development
Helldivers
model
2.
is so
More
like
Helldivers 2.
right,
Less.
like the triple quadruple A development is just so completely broken
Mhm.
um that you could be like the Suicide Squad people who have been making that game since 2015 or whatever, and it comes out and it's just a complete dud.
Yeah.
uh and that's just like it's just the scale of that investment is just so insane that I think we are a lot of these kind of adjustments I think are, especially like now that we're not in a free money environment anymore,
Mhm.
that companies are like, okay, everybody's got to get really cool with double A games really quick or else we're in trouble. But also that's not going to happen because gamers are unreasonable.
Yep.
That,
Well,
to
we
So,
to the thing you're just pointing out, I have it loaded up on my screen right now. A $40 game that is breaking records, and all it did was just be a decent video game, and that is the sustainability that needs to keep happening. The type of like, let's just make a game, and there's a bunch of creative directors, maybe one or two. They're like, here's my idea. Like as much shit talk as I personally give Pal World, at least it's a functioning video game that was, depending on who you ask, sustainably made. Um, really depends on who you ask. But yes, there can't be like, okay, I do want to, touching on layoffs. So many of the layoffs have been the Embracer Group, and so much of
mhm.
that was because the Embracer Group. This is known. This is not me doing false accusations. They needed literally billions of dollars of a Saudi oil group that was entering the video game space. They needed billions of dollars of that money, and then that fell through. And now, because that fell through, you're just seeing thousands upon thousands of people under the giant Embracer umbrella just like getting laid off.
Yep.
And the CEO, I don't know if you guys saw that. I don't know if I shared it with you. The CEO said that people should get used to the fact that layoffs are just going to be a normal part of this industry now. And it's like, my brother in Christ, you're the problem.
Yeah, we don't have to like that.
Yeah.
uh,
There's a reason why like the industry got away from the old models of like staff up, release game, spin down, lay everybody off, and hope they got hired back for the next project because like it's not sustainable in
no, it's
a
not.
modern working environment for people to keep doing that over and over again. So like, yeah, of course they got away from that and got used to like stable jobs and consistent employment and studios that were ready to either support the current game or immediately spin up for the next project. Like
Hmm.
you can't just say like, oh, we're gonna be cool with layoffs again, and anytime a company has a massive hiring boom because of success or whatnot, you're gonna have people in the back of their mind who go, yeah, but if it doesn't last, like, am I gonna jump ship and move house because we bet on the wrong horse and they staff us down immediately or in 3 months?
Did you see that article that was just posted today that a lot of tech companies are wanting RTO, return to office, and then like within weeks they are having layoff waves of the same people they demanded for return to office.
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised
Absolutely
if
insane.
if that if like a return to office stuff is often used as like a soft layoff kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I'm going to institute, a draconian return to office kind of policy very suddenly with the express purpose of getting people to quit without having to pay like a layoff severance or whatever.
That I think you're right. I've seen that type of article like thrown around for like several months of that's one of the secret reasons they have it because layoffs are actually expensive
Mm-hmm.
in the very short term. They're extremely expensive in the very short term. Also, Riot Games had that huge layoff wave. And you don't and okay, Riot the reason why Riot Games had a huge layoff wave is actually kind of interesting and telling. It's not that the company wasn't making money. Riot Games made like money hand over fist in 2023. Tencent, their umbrella company, though, did not make money. And Mama Tencent said, we need, as Josh said, we need you to be really cool with the fact that we didn't make money. You are doing good. Good for you. We own you though. So
And
That's
I'm
so
seriously not
It's
having
pretty
a good
bad,
time.
yeah.
I'm seriously not having a good time right now. So
yeah.
Nobody can.
yeah,
Like the math was did in this article I was reading. I think it was either Kotaku or Polygon. Riot made so much money in 2023 that if you divvied it up and paid the employee, each employee would have made $600,000 after tax.
It's like,
And
how is that not enough?
it wasn't enough
No.
for Tencent, and I don't know. That's so weird. Hey, yeah. So I don't know what the lesson to that is. Maybe don't get in bed with like giant Chinese conglomerates. I don't
or
know.
Saudi conglomerates.
Or so. Hey, you know what? That is a big
We-
lesson. As someone that has incidentally worked for the Embracer Group 2 different times,
Yeah.
Josh, I
unbeknownst
think
to
we have to
me.
tell Ray about the unscripted gaming jersey deal.
Ooh,
Now, or should
yeah.
we do that later?
Yeah. Alibaba. Have you heard of them? No, we
Check out
Ray-
this Temu app, guys. It's really good.
It's Temu, okay?
Temu.
The
I'm sick
fucking
and
Super Bowl
tired.
taught you it's Temu.
I'm sick and tired of not shopping like a billionaire. Okay, I've had it.
Oh God.
For too long. America.
Oh no.
Not known.
No. We're not launching unscripted gaming on Bilibili anytime soon. So
I don't even know what that is.
that's their YouTube.
Oh,
Anyway,
what a horrible ass name. What a weak ass name, Billy. Bill, get the fuck out of here.
we kind of
Look,
talked
you
about
know,
we talked about this
hey.
though is in the podcast that Ray and I did without you, Mike. We did get into kind of like we talked about some of this Saudi investment fund, and just like how it has been so
That bought us out, right?
Yes,
Those
they
guys?
yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
Investment notice, by the way. No, but just like it's happening in soccer, it's happening in other sports, and like you got these large, nationally semi-funded organizations that are looking to diversify, that are looking to, as they call it in like soccer, like Sports Watch or Game, they're trying to class up their portfolios and make them look like they're doing
golf.
such a good thing. But it's like those groups are so volatile because they will just move to the next thing because all they care about is they don't even necessarily care about the profits. It is about what it does for their image. And the second it does not serve that narrative, they're out.
It's just imaging. It's not great. Yeah.
So
the money looks good, but it's a trap.
But it's also hard to like turn down those big investments too when you have the big idea. Like you have people who have big ideas, or you're like, we start to see some success, and we just need that little extra little bit to get those extra 50 staffers to make the next game, or to support this in perpetuity. Being able to put out weekly content instead of saying, hey, here's the game, sorry about you. Like I get it, it's a tough spot, but I don't know. There has to be another answer, and I don't know what it is, but like this is the sustainability of the mid. I mean, and even upper tiers games industry like relies on being a little more creative with how we fund and think about studios and their longevity.
Right.
Yes.
I kind of feel like, not to put this whole thing at Sony's feet because it's not their fault. I just think these games are not fun. So I'm gonna be mean to them.
I think
I
I know
think
what type of Sony game you're talking about.
I think spending $1.2 billion to make a sad dad over the shoulder third person action game again, and then remaster it 4 years later. I don't think that is gonna really do it.
What if they remastered it again, though? Like again.
That's the remake,
Oh, the
'Cause
remake.
you release it, you get the remaster, then you hit them with a remake.
And then you remaked it re-envisioned.
The revision. Oh man, don't even joke. I think that's probably gonna happen. Anyways, in good news, for like good Sony projects, one Helldivers, 2 in 1 week from now. Final Fanny 7 Rebirth.
The Final Fanny?
Cannot wait.
The Final Fanny?
Finny.
British people, stop listening to our podcast right now. This just became very inappropriate.
I
so
have
sorry.
been avoiding all. There's a free demo out right now to anyone that has a PS5. Don't care. Going in blind. Cannot wait. I love Remake. It's one of my favorite games I've ever played. Give me Young Cloud. Go ahead. Ruin the internet, Young Cloud. There's a Young Sephiroth there too.
We can't.
It's
I
done. It's
wasn't gonna
over.
say
It's
it.
I
I wasn't gonna say a thing. I was gonna say a word.
I just wish I knew. I just wish I knew an approximate PC date.
Probably 2 years. It's
they've-
typically 2 years.
The last one was 1 year. But like, I'm not buying a
Okay.
PS5. I'm not. I can't justify it. I cannot justify it for one game. But boy, howdy, am I feeling a little itchy. I'm feeling.
They
a
really
little
just
itchy.
took like the twinkiest twink little screen cap of Cloud and just
He
be like,
has-
oh, here you go, and
He
just
has
threw
lip
it. And
gloss
just,
on.
like, people just went like, oh my god,
Hey,
it's not good out there.
Square Enix
Take
knew
shelter,
exactly
everybody.
what they were
It's
doing.
not
They're
good
like,
out
here
here.
you go. By the way, the pre-order button's down there.
People
you know
are
what to
going
do.
Carol.
Oh,
out
good.
there.
All
Stay
right,
safe,
Josh, where can
everybody.
other people talk about hot twink action?
Well, they can go to unscriptedgaming.com. There they can
We
find
promise you nothing but the best.
hot twinks and even hotter takes.
Huh?
You
Okay,
heard
but who's
we got Twinks, we got Tifa.
twinks, Tifa, and takes. That's
Yes.
okay, but
triple
who's
T.
who?
the 3 T's. Right.
Okay.
God, this is the best outro ever. Unscriptedgaming.com. There you can find all of our twinks, all of our takes, and all the Tifa content that we can post to you. If you want to follow us on our socials, we're on Facebook at Unscripted Game Podcast, on the formerly Bird app known as X, now at unscript_gaming. You can get us on soundcloud.com/unscripted-gaming. There you can find links to all of our audio versions of the podcast on all the podcatchers, your Googles, your Apples, your Pocket Casts, your Stitchers, everywhere. So thank you for listening to Unscripted Gaming. My name is Josh,
My name is Mike.
My name is Ray.
a.k.a. Twinktastic. Peace!
Dibs on FIFA.